What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I'm getting the Shadows of Rose DLC and why you should too. So this is my preview series where I talk about an upcoming game and talk about whether I'm getting it, not getting it, or am somewhere in the middle. Now, technically, this is not just the Shadows of Rose DLC, right? You buy the expansion pack for Village. It's $20, so it's actually very cheap in my opinion for what you get. And you get the third person mode, you get Rose, you get more stuff. It also comes out the same day as Reverse, right? The multiplayer game that drops on October 28th along with all of this stuff. But specifically for this video, I'm talking about the Shadows of Rose, the story, missions or, whatever that's going to be. That's what I'm talking about here. For me, it's an easy yes, I'm getting the game. And really a lot of the reasons are some of the reasons I already said. $20, you look at the end of this month, you got Plague Tale, you got Gotham Knights, you got Bayonetta 3, you got a ton of really, really big games that come out all within, like a 10-day span. There's quite a few. For $20 to be able to get an expansion that's going to, also I guess goes into part 2 of why I'm getting it. Finishing the Winters family storyline, kind of important. So from a price perspective, it's very cheap compared to all the other things coming out at the end of October. I guess you could look at it also as like a horror game, right? Halloween kind of vibes. But also from an importance standpoint, and this is where, and I've talked about this, I made a video specifically on this, and I think people are generally in agreement with this. I like the DLC. I can't wait to play it. I'm excited for it. Do you need to end the Winters family, storyline on DLC? No, I think that's actually a pretty dumb idea. With that being said, remember, this DLC wasn't planned, right? They made Village, and they didn't plan on making this. They saw the insane, reception to Village, and then they decided to do DLC. In fact, the first idea for the DLC was something with Chris, and then they shot that down, and they did something with Rose. So I guess in a way, they planned on ending Ethan, Rose, just all of them, with the ending that we see in Village. That was supposed to be the end. And so in a way, I guess, if this is going to kind of add extra layers to it, that's exciting. And I am excited. That's kind of the main reason. Rose as a character, I mean, we can't really pretend to say, like, she's an insanely, incredible character, right? All we saw of her was the cutscene at the end of Village, which was really cool. And honestly, credit where credit's due, they did a pretty good job of making her a pretty interesting and kind of like you root for her character in 3 minutes that you get to see of her. I mean, it's not much, but you kind of get that she's got some spunk to her, but she's also a little aggressive, or she's she just wants to kind of defend that family line, right? She's not taking any BS, and they did a lot, I guess, with her in just a very short amount of time. So to get what they say this game is 4 hours long, that the story of the Shadows of Rose DLC is 4 hours long. I mean, that's a pretty good amount for a DLC. Now, the issue, of course, is normally when developers say the amount of time for DLC, it tends to come in lower, right? So sometimes developers say it's a 10-hour thing. Turns out to be 7 or 8. So, am I saying it's half of what they said? No, not necessarily. But if the average play time for this was 3 hours instead of 4, I would not be surprised. It's probably 4 if you really take your time, go through it. If you're not necessarily rushing, but I imagine if you're just going through it normally, you probably would beat it, within those 4 hours. But look, again, really for all the reasons I said, I'm excited for it from a Halloween perspective to go back into Village. Village was a great game. This, if you play this and you don't replay Village with a third-person mode, this is the first time we've had that in quite a while in modern Resident Evil, right? So to be able to do that with Rose, kind of take it back a little old school, a little more, I guess, Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake vibes, that could be really cool. And then the story, right? It's kind of required viewership in a way that if you want to know what's going on with Resident Evil going forward. Now, Resident Evil 9 may not take place. In fact, it probably shouldn't take place in the same time period as Shadows of Rose, right? Because then you have like a 65-year-old Ada and Claire and Chris, and it's really probably not a good idea, at least in my opinion. So I'd imagine this is going to wrap up, Rose. It would wrap up maybe Ethan if they're going to do one final thing with Ethan, bring him back just to kind of send them both off, or, whatever it happens to be. This would be that time. And then Resident Evil 9 would probably take place after Village, but without these characters, which, kind of makes sense in that way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is one that I've circled that I do think this could get buried. I mean, Village was gigantic, and maybe it won't be because It is a big DLC pack. It's not a lot of money. Comes out close to Halloween. It's going to have all that kind of push, I would say, behind it. And Village just did so incredibly well, right, in terms of sales. I just hope, you know, Gotham Knights, kind of a big one, Bayonetta, Call of Duty, right? These are gigantic games. And then you get into November with God of War and Pokemon and all that stuff. I mean, there's a chance this gets buried, but in reality, the required viewing, required playing part of it, in my opinion, is just the Shadows of Rose part. I don't really need to play the game again in third person. I'm sure there'll be many that do. I'm just getting it for this 4 hours. Honestly, I'll play it one day, you know, be able to beat the whole thing, talk about it, and move on to the other 500 games that come out at the end of October. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.